Hi friends, welcome to a new weekly reading vlog. I just finished my last one, so if I'm looking the same and in the same clothes, that's why. It is a beautiful Monday morning. It is a really nice temperature outside. I'm hoping it's gonna stay nice today so I can actually be outside with my kid and not wanna just melt because it's too warm for this Canadian. But had a really good reading week last week. I am in the midst of setting things up for the channel. I set up a new Patreon for the channel, which is really exciting for our upcoming book club, mine and Josh's. And I hope you'll come join us there. I'll have all the info put in the description for the box down below. I have started my first read for the week, and that is Remains of the Day. So far, the vibe I'm getting is if it were Carson from Downton Abbey, his POV the entire time, and poor Stevens, which is his name, dude is exhausted. He is just a frenetic character, someone that does not know how to chill or calm or be at ease. So it's going to be an interesting reading experience. I'm about 10% through of this book so far, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. It's a little bit early to make any formal declarations. I'm also coming off of like the greatest series of all time, which I talked about in my previous reading vlog. So if you haven't caught that, I will link that so you can listen to me gush about the Warlord Chronicles, because honestly, so amazing. I'm just looking at my calendar here in terms of what my week is going to look like. I think it's pretty easy week, which is nice. I've got a couple of things coming up later in the week. I have my love bomb chat with John from Talking Story, which is going to be super fun. We're definitely going to talk about the Warlord Chronicles there, as well as I'm sure some Cosmo reads and just reads in general. Really looking forward to chatting with him. It's going to be our first formal sit down chat as opposed to kind of just chatting through other people's lives. So I'm really looking forward to that. What is this that I've got going on? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's going to be a good week. I'm excited. I baked for the first time last week in a really long time. I really just haven't been baking a whole lot because I was dedicating most of my time to writing my book, which I sent off my book to my editor this past weekend, which is so exciting. I'm just so over the moon and jazzed. I'm really happy with where I got it, how many words I was able to cull it down to. I started at about 140,000. I think I was at about 141,000, and I got it to about 115 and 700 some odd words by the time I got to the end. If you hear my kid, she's moaning because she does this when she eats, and she's trying to tell me that she wants more cheese, but girlfriend's fine. So I am just super excited to see what Sarah, that's the name of my editor, what she's gonna do with it. I am then gonna start in the next month, because I'm looking at about a turnaround time of about July 12th, she said, for the book. I'm gonna start looking at agents in the next little while and then start querying. And I'm really nervous about that just because I don't know how to really pitch my book. So if you have any tips about pitching, really send them my way, because in terms of describing your book in just a few sentences can be so hard when it's something that you're trying to create a world scope. Fantasy in general, I feel like, can be really hard to properly pitch in just a few lines. So I'm gonna be practicing that over the next coming weeks, as well as just writing query letters and starting that process, because I'm hoping to go traditional publishing with this book. And if not, I'm gonna independently publish it. Either way, it's gonna get in the hands of people at some point. I wrote my prologue this past week for book 2, which is exciting. I'm still uncertain if I love it exactly how it is, but that is a later draft thing. But the first draft prologue is now written, so that's exciting as well. I'm just looking forward to getting back into writing a little bit, because the revision process I found to be really tedious. I really do prefer writing as opposed to editing, even though I know how necessary the editing process is, just because I have done probably like 5 or 6 rounds of edits on this book already. and it is a vastly different novel than when it was written in the first draft. So obviously things ebb and flow, they change. I also need to try to plan things out a little bit more for books 2 and books 3 because I'm a pantser when it comes to my writing. I don't really plan things. I knew for book 1 I had 3 scenes in my mind and I was like, okay, we got to get to those scenes, but everything else in between was just fair game and came out as I sat to write the book. So you okay there, kiddo? Yeah, we're good. So looking forward to another really great week. I am not sure if I'm going to be reading much SFF this week. I probably will toss something in there just because I'm going to need something to keep my SFF palette running, even though I have had a few weeks this year where I really haven't had any SFF. Like I had my Emily Henry and romance binge at the beginning of May, which was pretty much straight romance for a couple weeks. So curious to see where the week is going to take us, but I think it's going to be good. These are my lilies. Are they not the prettiest color of lily? Oh, I love them. I love them so much. Hey, babe. So I'm about 10% through Remains of the Day, and my basic understanding, sorry if the wind makes this sound terrible, is that it is based on a butler whose name is Stevens, and he is a very proper British butler. And he is now having to work for an American who doesn't seem to quite understand the proper decorum and nature of things. And the American that he works for is encouraging him to take a vacation. And Stevens doesn't quite know how to grapple with this and process this because he doesn't take vacations. And he has just left on his trip. So I'm curious to see where things end up going from here and what crazy scenarios he ends up getting himself involved in. Hey, Murray. Hi. What's happening? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Another tough day. Hello friends, it's been a busy afternoon. I published my vlog on YouTube and I put classical music in it because I love classical music, and I put the cello song by Bach because I love the cello song. And apparently, according to YouTube, Russia owns it. So it's being really finicky with me with copyright claims right now. So that's been something I've been trying to organize for the last hour, which has been super frustrating. And now part of the music that YouTube like subbed in is cutting me off in parts. It's just a whole thing. It's a mess, whatever. So I am about 45% through the Remains of the Day. And Stevens, my boy Stevens. So the basic premise of what I've come to understand, I gave you guys a little snippet, taste of it when I started reading it this morning, is that Stevens is our butler, and he is giving us insight as to what it is like to be a butler in a proper British home and estate. And he is the least chill human, I think, ever. Like, he is so not chill. And part of that is because of the time, the place, his position. Like, that's what was required of someone who was going to work as a butler in this type of environment. And it has been a really interesting retrospective in terms of character work, relationships, historically what was happening during that time period. So far, I'm enjoying myself. It's not something I would typically read, but I think Jimmy was smart in suggesting this to people because I do think that this is a really solid book so far. It's also a fast listen, so there's that. I feel like I'll probably finish tomorrow. So yeah, it's gonna be quick. Enjoying it so far. Hopefully YouTube can get its you-know-what together, and we'll go from there. Hoping tonight that I'm gonna make some tacos for dinner. I'm gonna make some fish tacos. I make everything from scratch, so hands are also like, I was gardening before without gloves, so I now have dirt under my nails that I need to get out before I start cooking dinner. But yeah, I'm gonna make fish tacos. I always make our tortillas from scratch because it's super easy, but it should be yummy, so we'll see. So I finished The Remains of the Day, and it's a great book. exhausting for such a short book. Stevens is the perfect example of how not to be on a vacation. The book made me feel like I was on the precipice of a panic attack basically the entire time I was reading it, but also just was really evocative and delved into the concept of dignity and what makes one dignified. It was an interesting looking back on what a role like that entailed, the sacrifice to be in that type of position, historically what was going on. This was kind of when we were on the verge of Hitler becoming a big problem, and looking at it from the British perspective as opposed to the German perspective. All in all, a very good book. It's a short book, so you can obviously read it in a day like I did. But, well, I technically did it in like a night and a day because I started late last night. Either way, I would recommend it. But if you are someone that is riddled with anxiety, I would not recommend it. This is probably not the book for you. Good morning. So I was gonna jump into recording really early this morning. I'm about to go get ready to record the mid-year freakout book tag, which is exciting. But then one of my best friends called, which was great. We caught up for an hour. She just had a really great trip to Portugal, so I wanted to hear all about it. I started my next read last night, and I want to make sure I get the name right, and that is Delilah Green Doesn't Care. So this is a sapphic romance, and if you are unfamiliar with what that term means, it means it's a lesbian romance. And so far, really into the humor. I think it works for me. Delilah is a character who is opinionated and I think is justified in a lot of her feelings. The premise of the book is that Delilah is a photographer who, let's go back. Delilah is having to work as a photographer for her stepsister's wedding. And Delilah's mother died when she was 3, and then her father died when she was probably like 10-ish. And she was left in the charge of her stepmother and grew up with this stepsister who is nothing like her. Really just bossy, opinionated, a bit vitriolic it seems like, but I'm sure we'll learn later has a heart of gold. But Delilah is our artsy, angsty character who moved to New York as soon as she could out of this small town in Portland, or out of Oregon around Portland, I think is kind of what they're saying in the book. And she goes back to her hometown for this wedding because she is being paid to be the wedding photographer. I am liking it so far. You meet the love interest really early on in the book, and it is a dual POV book where it is Delilah and Claire. I'm enjoying it. Curious to see where I fall on it. It's a really quick listen. I feel like, I think the audiobook is like 12 hours, if that. So, I mean, I say that's a quick listen compared to like a fantasy read, which they can usually be in the realm of 20 to 30 hours. And then if we're talking the Stormlight Archive, it's in the realm of 50 to 60 hours. So this seems very fast. And I tend to listen to most things on 2 speed, so it's even quicker. But enjoying it. I am going to make myself some breakfast because I'm starving. I have childcare today, which is excellent. I can get some work done. I'm gonna try to record a couple of videos. I might try to go to the gym. I'm still feeling really under the weather from my sinus infection. I'm just so exhausted and just have a horrible headache. But gotta power through and get work done. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do the mid-year freakout book tag, and then I might do a bookshelf tour. And then I'll do another one when we get our new shelves, so we can kind of do a compare and contrast of what things look like before and after. So we'll see. Hey, Murray. Everyone can say hi to Murray here because he is the cutest. Hey, Murray. Yes. And yeah, should be a good day. I'll keep you updated as to my reading.
I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a cute little girl that's in a wheel, not a walk, but a wheel that goes there.
No.
Sadie's her name.
Hello. So, I finished Delilah Green Does Not Care, or Doesn't Care, rather. Delilah Green Doesn't Care. And I personally didn't really care for it. I thought it was fine. The thing I feel that the author did really well is she wrote the sexual tension well, but I didn't really care about any of the characters, nor did I really like them. I found that when I've read Emily Henry, for example, I feel like I intimately know the characters, why they make the decisions they do, why they feel the things that they do. It's like you've known them forever. And in this, I did not feel that. I felt like it was all very superficial. The main character, her father died when she was young, and therefore it felt kind of Cinderella-ish, where she had a rocky relationship with her stepmother and then a not so great relationship with her stepsister. I just didn't jive for me, but I will say I do think that she wrote the sexual tension between Delilah and Claire that was good. I still feel like I'm dying, so I'm not sure what's going on, but I also feel like it's sort of a migraine that's living in my eyeball. So I don't know. I really don't know. I'm at a crossroads right now in terms of what book I'm going to start next, because I feel like I'm looking at my screen here to pull up my Goodreads to see what the happenings is, but I feel like I am due for a reread of SPQR by Mary Beard. And it's free on Audible, if you remember. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be my next listen. But also in the mood for SFF, so I don't know. I have 2 things waiting for me on Libby, for those of you in North America that use Libby, because I don't know if Libby is outside of North America. If it is, I'm sorry, and I've neglected that. But I started a trilogy last year by Holly Black called the Folk of Air trilogy, I believe is what it was, and was really mid on the first 2 books, but they're really easy palate cleanser books. And I've been debating trying the 3rd just to wrap up the trilogy so I know how it ends, see if I like it. That came in. So I'm still trying to determine if that's a thing for me. Like I said earlier, Cloud Atlas has come in, but I don't think in terms of how I'm feeling that I'm ready for David Mitchell. Like, I really want to be on my A game for David Mitchell. So I'm trying to figure out if it's something where I listen to Mary Beard because I know the Romans, I'm familiar with that history. I've already read the book. It would be just a refresher for me. Because even though I've read it, I love Roman history. I like to keep my memory sharp on it as much as I can. And I feel like listening to intro stuff like that every few years kind of just does that for me and keeps my brain active and in the loop and going. So I don't know yet what I'm gonna read or listen to, because I still can't really read because I even took my glasses off at the start of this video. Like, my eyes desperately need glasses, but my prescription is off. So I'm just waiting to see my eye doctor. But yeah, I will keep you updated with what I end up choosing. So far this week has been kind of interesting in that I've had The Remains of the Day, which felt exhausting to read, but was very well written. And then I feel like this second book went by really quickly, but I almost DNF'd it around the 60 to 65% mark just because I really didn't care. Which I'm not a big DNF'er. It takes a lot for me to DNF. And then I just figured if I up the audiobook speed, I'll finish this faster, which I did. And I don't feel like I missed much, if anything, with the story. So we'll see where I land. It's beautiful outside. I love this time of year, minus allergies, where you can actually sit outside in the evening. I love this about fall too, in a sweater and be comfortable. Like, it's the perfect temperature. I'm excited about that. Yeah, that's kind of just where things are at right now. I didn't get as much work done today as I wanted to. I got my video recorded and uploaded for my mid-year freak out book tag, which Carlos of StoryTube is giving me a hard time for that it's not mid-year yet, but June is the middle of the year, so I think it counts. But I am just kind of gonna cruise now a little bit until this really starts feeling better. I don't know if I'll do another video this week. I already have 2 out for the week, so I might just be done. But I will actually have a third because I'll be having my love bomb chat with John on Friday. Yeah, Friday I want to say, maybe Saturday. Friday? I think it's Friday. This is kind of where I'm at right now mentally, if it's not clear. If you know someone that you would like to see in a love bomb chat, also let me know, because I'm always curious as to who people would like to see do that. I also, now that I'm thinking about it, need to read book 1 of the Odyssey, because I'm going to be doing that with Evie and Alan. We're going to do 1 book a month because Alan's life, newborn life, teacher life, all of that is hectic, and this is what people can handle at that phase of life. So I think that's what we're going to be doing. So as soon as I get my new prescription, I'm going to be starting that, and I'm excited about that because I love the Odyssey so much, and I haven't read the Odyssey in probably like 15 years. It's been a while. Has it been 15 years? Something like that. It might even be a bit longer. Let's do the quick mental math here. It's not mental math. I'm fully pulling up a calculator because I am so tired. I read it 16 years ago. So yeah, just about that. And I love that story. It's such an epic. I love refamiliarizing myself with that world, those characters. And because I read Cersei last year, I think it'll be interesting to kind of compare the two in my brain. I also want to reread Cersei just because I love Cersei so much. I don't know. I might also start the Chamber of Secrets and just do a Harry Potter read. At this point, I'm just rambling about books that I might read. So I will keep you updated with what book I choose. Stay tuned. That's Salem and Penny, their daddy and daughter. You're being so nice, Salem. Are you gonna then attack her? Aw, nice pen. Salem. This is one of the rare moments where he's being genuinely nice. I'm pretty convinced he's going to attack her in a minute. Aw. Hey, Mary. What are you doing? Got Mary here, Penny there, and there's Salem. In a completely unrelated question, I love the Bridgerton show, even though it definitely has its issues. I love a good period drama and period piece. Are these books any good? Like, someone let me know if the books are good, if you've read them, and if you need to read all of them. Hello. Hi. Are you being silly?
Baby?
Not a baby. It's the next day. I started SPQR and I'm dying.
Look.
So I'm going back to the doctor later today to see if they can give me something else to get rid of what I am assuming is a sinus infection. I don't know. Who knows? My kid and I are outside right now because it's nice, even though I am overheated and very red. Hi. Hopefully today will be a good day. But SPQR, as always, Mary Beard, so good, thorough. Why do you drop everything? Hey?
Baby?
No. So we'll see how this read continues to go. I'm also considering starting the Children of Gods and Fighting Men, or the Gods of Children and Fighting Men. I don't remember. It's by Shauna Wallace, so I might start that too, just to kind of keep my foot in historical fantasy right now after my Warlord Chronicles listen. We'll see. But right now I'm heavily involved in the Catalan conspiracy in Rome. Okay, so I'm now on all the meds. I am now on an antibiotic, a steroid, and a nasal spray to try to kick this sinus infection because it's kicking my ass. And I started SPQR earlier by Mary Beard, and I was way too exhausted to actually focus on what was being said, and just way too out of it. So I wanted something easy while I was driving and just sitting at the doctor's office. So I started listening to Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, which is the third book in the Folk of Air trilogy, I believe is what it's called. And I was really mid on the first two books, and I feel like it's partially because I had read no romantasy at that point, and it read really YA to me. So I don't know if it's just because I'm more familiar with the genre now, or if it's because she found her voice and hit her stride in this third book. But I think the third book so far is actually a decent book. I'm about 30% through, and curious to see how it's going to wrap things up. But I'm happy that I am enjoying it more than I did the first two books. Hello. I had an update yesterday. I'm feeling slightly better, but I'm still under the weather. I spent my whole day yesterday working on a query letter, and holy shit, that is the worst process. Like, I'm really struggling with this. And it seems that there are so many different formats of how to write query letters. And I then spent the whole day doing it. I found a Reddit forum where people will critique your query letters, and it seems like I did the whole thing wrong. So I'm hoping I have a better understanding now and I can gear up and keep going. Tonight I have my love bomb with John from Talking Story, which is going to be exciting. I finished Queen of Nothing, so I'm now done with the trilogy of the Folk of Air, the Folk of the Air trilogy, I think is what it's called. I can't remember. It's by Holly Black. It was fine. It was fine. Nothing special. Definitely has toxic traits like written all over it. I feel like its appropriate audience would be late teens at most, like probably 14 to 17 maybe. As long as they know that like this is not what you should aspire to have in a relationship. But yeah, it was fine. Still deciding if I'm going to jump back into SPQR. I don't know if I am at the right energy level to meet that book yet. I have Cloud Atlas in my queue, but again, I know I'm not at the right energy level to meet Cloud Atlas. So I'm just trying to figure out what it is I'm going to read over the next couple days, basically, because I want it to be something that I can get into and enjoy, but something simultaneously that if I'm still feeling under the weather, I don't have to think all that much about. So we'll see. It's just been kind of low-key. I had a couple of appointments, but really I've been trying to just get better. Since moving to America, I've had crazy seasonal allergies. Like, it was not a thing for me when I lived in Canada. There's something in the middle of the US along the eastern seaboard that like just gets me, and I'm not sure what it is, but it likes to kill me once a year, or attempt to at least once a year. But tonight we already have dinner made, which is excellent. We're having salmon cakes for dinner, but then I'm gonna make these really delicious baby potatoes that have an aioli, roasted pine nuts, and a paprika butter that go on top, and they're so good. So I'm looking forward to dinner. But I need to try to get some work done while my kid is napping. She's reading in her crib, which is great. I'm trying to create that environment for early readership. I want her to have it, even though she's just looking at pictures, which is still super important, and I'm happy about it. Then I need to just rest on for my chat tonight because I really want to be engaged with John and have a good conversation, which I'm sure it will be because John is super personable and just is like such a nice guy. So that'll be a good time. But other than that, don't have too much going on. It's kind of just getting through right now. I am excited to find my next read, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I know if I'm reading, I can't be working on querying. So I'm wondering if the next little bit will be maybe a little bit less reading and more querying. I'm not really sure. There's still a couple of books that are sneakily I'm wanting to read. I'm so tempted to start Robin Hobb, but I'm so not emotionally ready. I just feel like I'm not. And I know there's animal stuff in these books, and I'm trying to like mentally gear up for that type of thing. So we'll see. This weekend though, House of the Dragon premieres, and that's just gonna be intense because Blood and Cheese is episode 1, and I know what's coming. And I'm gonna be doing a breakdown of each episode, so that's something that'll be coming out too. But yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. I might end up having to release this before then, because now that I'm thinking about it, the House of the Dragon video is probably gonna come out like Sunday late night or Monday early morning. So yeah, we'll see. But all in all, I've had a really good reading week. I am happy with the books that I read for the most part. I got through The Remains of the Day, which was like a really interesting reading experience. Didn't end up loving the sapphic romance that I read, Delilah Green Doesn't Care. Just didn't hit with me, which is kind of unfortunate, and then rounded out the week with Queen of Nothing. So you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I am gonna end the vlog here. So in my next vlog, you will probably see tonight's dinner of potatoes and salmon. But all in all, I feel like it's been a good week. Hoping that I'm feeling top shape for next week. I will tell you more about what's going on next week in the next video. But if you like this type of content, you can always hit like and subscribe. It helps out the channel. Also, you can join our Patreon, which is super exciting because that's where our book community is going to be hanging out. So come hang out with us on Patreon. It'll be super, super fun. I have a Discord server for it and everything. So yeah, that'll be really good. Last thing, if you've made it this far, let's see. What could be our little emoji that we toss in for the week? You know what? Put a dinner plate. Put a dinner plate if you've made it this far, because there's a lot of food in this vlog and The Remains of the Day. It's butlerish. Makes perfect sense. So as always, thanks for hanging out with me, spending your time with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.